This is the Uptick Network Stock Day Podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Penny stock news and interviews from the microcap world. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a very exciting guest with us. He is Troy Taggart. He is the president of Geospatial Corporation. They trade on the OTC QB under the ticker symbol GSPH. Now, if you're listening to us on iTunes, please subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, rate us and leave us a comment. It makes it easier for other people to find our program. If you like to listen to all the back episodes of the guests that we've had on the radio show here, you can go to upticknewswire.com and find all of our back episodes there. Troy, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Everett, and we're grateful we could spend some time here today.
Give my listeners a little bit of your about statement and maybe a little bit about yourself, and then I want to get into some Q&A.
Sure. Geospatial Corporation has been mapping underground infrastructure in 3 dimensions since about 2007. And in the early days of the company, frankly, 3-dimensional data in terms of mapping underground infrastructure was really a new concept. And over the years, we've been perfecting our technologies to not only map underground infrastructure, which is in dire need of repair.
Absolutely.
And you know, sort of out of sight, out of mind has been the mentality. However, you know, from just really good business intelligence for our verticals and clients, which are, you know, oil and gas, water, wastewater, electric, telecom, and, you know, municipal, cities, et cetera. You know, over the years when we started mapping some of these lines, we basically realized that the clients were having a difficult time managing the data in a format that was sort of ubiquitous with both technical and non-technical people. And we initially built out some cloud-based software that we refer to as Geo Underground, which is a cloud-based mapping system that's built on top of the world's most used map, which is Google Maps. And we are providing a total solution for our clients and the people that serve those clients, such as surveyors and private locators and inspection companies, a platform that allows them to easily aggregate all of this information, deliver it to the client so that it can be uploaded into enterprise data management systems, or Geo Underground can be used as a standalone data management platform that helps both visualize exact location of underground infrastructure, and I say exact is you know, really at the level of in which the pipelines are mapped, their accuracy. However,
Right.
There's also a lot of data, for example, on pipelines that has to be recorded and kept digitally, and you know, things like inspection reports, weld reports, as well as the condition of the pipe and maximum operating pressure. There's a whole lot of data that goes, and what we've been able to do is, you know, tie that data directly to a point on the map, so that is easily retrievable both from the C-suite to the field, and you know, that's pretty much the solution that we're providing today.
So let me ask you this. Give me a flow chart for myself and my listeners. What are some of the challenges your clients face, and how do you guys solve them? How do you get your clients, once you get a client and they have a problem, how do you solve their problems?
Great question. Our clients are some of the largest, oil and gas names that to municipal water facilities trying to manage what I would call older infrastructure. And the big challenge that is facing all our clients is that they, in order to properly plan for new construction or fixing of old lines, they truly don't have very good location data on that infrastructure. It was maybe built in 1940.
1940s and 50s, absolutely. I could understand that.
And most of our, a lot of our underground infrastructure is outliving its design life, its intended design life. And so, everything starts with location. So if you want to dig up a line, you need to know where it is. Currently in this environment, even though our clients do the best they can with existing capabilities to identify where those pipelines and conduits are, they're just not getting the right data or the most accurate data. And today in this country, we have a line strike about every 60 seconds. And unfortunately, some of these can be quite catastrophic. And whether it's in the middle of a city or it's a transmission pipeline going through, through more of a rural area, you have quite a bit of challenges, both from an EPA perspective as well as fines for not having the right data and it managed properly.
Absolutely.
And so it's really the challenges that we're solving are providing the best information. Three-dimensional data is very, very important. We can touch on that later. But although I think our clients do a pretty good job of trying to map their facilities, they have a lot of gaps in their maps, I call it. And so we're able to fill in those gaps by both very accurately mapping those pipelines, either from above ground or entry into a pipeline, and then represent that on a cloud-based system that's retrievable anywhere, in which then they can make actionable decisions from, whether it's knowing how much room they have in a right-of-way to add an existing pipeline, which is happening every day in the oil and gas field, mostly in transmission and distribution. And then the other challenge that they have and have been having is where that data is most important is in the field. When construction workers begin their projects, they're trying to map or trying to match lines on old paper-based maps, and they're just not effective.
That makes sense. They should be able to, pull that up on their, notebook or something like that, and hopefully somebody's putting that somewhere in the cloud.
Yes, any device. So from a tablet to your smartphone, and that problem goes both ways. So really, where the data is freshest is in the field. So we've enabled Geo Underground, a user to be able to take photos, videos, fill out inspection reports on their phone, and upload that to a very specific point. For example, if you're inspecting fire hydrants, it can be videoed, it can be picture with documentation, all layered on a map to the direct point, GPS point where the fire hydrant exists.
We don't have a lot of time today, Troy, but I do want to get through some of the questions that I have and some of the questions that the emails have come in from listeners and stuff like that. You are listening to Troy Taggart. He is the president of Geospatial Corporation. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol GSPH. How big is this market, and how many competitors are in this space?
Okay, so you're talking a very large market. Tough to put a total number on the market because the market is growing. If you look at Market and Markets has a nice report on 3D mapping and 3D data, and the compounded annual growth rates are anywhere from 10 to 17%. But think of it this way, every city in America has the same problem.
Absolutely.
And so geographically, that really expands around the world, where the new initiatives around smart cities are everything above ground. It's, great telecommunications and Wi-Fi networks. However, when it comes to below the ground, there's always this massive question mark. And so we feel like we're the only ones in this marketplace that is taking a holistic approach to both mapping, providing our clients the ability then to manage that data so that they meet both regulatory requirements as well as really sound business practices. And the ROIs of understanding where exactly your pipes are underground have anywhere between a 3 and 21% ROI. But again, they're just in the oil and gas industry, there's 2.6 million miles of gas pipeline networks, and I would say the majority of it is unmapped, or it's definitely unmapped in 3 dimensions.
I recently saw one of your press releases about the Pipes Act. How's that going to affect your company, and give me some current or future business that you can detract from that?
Sure. The Pipes Act is, did not take the oil and gas energy or the energy business by surprise. I mean, everyone knew it was coming. So PHMSA, which is an acronym for the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, which is under the guide of the Department of Transportation. In the oil and gas industry, the pipelines that were of most concern were interstate that would cross state lines, and they had several categories of pipelines that that kind of held various different levels of interest. So in other words, if a pipeline was considered in a high consequence area, running by a school system or a hospital, within a certain amount of feet from that facility, it had to be accurately mapped, and a certain amount of data had to be retained for those pipelines. What the Pipes Act has done is taken that a step further, and almost has said that every piece of pipe that is transporting oil or gas is considered in a high consequence area. And basically, PHMSA, the Department of Transportation, are pushing, however, working with industry on getting better ways to accumulate data on all those pipelines, from inspection data and condition assessment all the way down to location, and tightening up the location requirements, from 50 feet on center accuracy to 3 feet on center. We take it a step further, and we are always shooting for 10 centimeters of accuracy in X, Y, and Z. And so we've recently launched a couple of programs within the oil and gas industry. Our uptake has been very, very strong. We have tremendous use cases that we're working with and bringing on other oil and gas, major oil and gas transmission companies to help them fill in their gaps of both their locational information as well as data.
I want to switch gears here for a second. Infrastructure is the big buzzword. It's a hot button right now in our country. Trump's soon to be president here in the next 30 days. They're saying they're going to spend $1 trillion in infrastructure in the United States. But your revenues is what I want to talk about. Your revenues for 2016 is going to be north of $600,000, and that's the biggest revenues that I'm aware of that you guys have had in the last 5 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, and frankly, it's sort of different revenue. But earlier, before we made a pivot, I think we butted up against a little over 800,000, and we feel comfortable that this is going to be a big year for us, and we'll finish off strong. But we're really looking forward to 2017. The momentum we have is quite strong.
My guest today is Troy Taggart. He is the president of Geospatial Corporation. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol GSPH. We're kind of running out of time, Troy, but in closing, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you would like to get out to my listeners?
Well, yeah, I just want to touch a little bit more on infrastructure and spending and sort of, we've been at this a while. Mark Smith, the CEO and founder, has been around underground infrastructure for quite some time. And, we are very excited that finally, sort of our country's waking up and understanding the needs of our infrastructure. However, when I say infrastructure, most people think of roads, bridges, and the things that they see, and sort of the pipelines are out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And that mindset is changing. And so not only are people interested in mapping, a pipeline here or a pipeline there, they want a full map of their entire systems. Our clients are starting to ask for that. We have the capabilities of doing it with a tremendous partner network that we're building around the country to help provide additional services. But at the end of the day, the money is there. A lot of it is in operating budgets. They are going to be making, all across the board, a lot of CapEx investments. Fiber is back very high on the priority list, and everyone's throwing fiber in the ground again. So we have a lot of business ahead of us, but, we do believe that, location is the lowest common denominator to all of this. And, we're in a real industry that's sort of evolving, and like anything else, data is the key to making key decisions, whether you're planning on expanding a hospital or a university. We see a world where a city will have an entire map of all their underground infrastructure that they can share and collaborate with first responders to all of their contractors that they hire, and no longer will this data sort of be stuck in what I would call the hands of just technical folk, from a software perspective. So
that's a great point.
The world's changing, and we feel like we're a leader in this area, and our goal is to not only make money for our shareholders, but provide a safer environment for our citizens.
Troy Taggart has been our guest today. He's the president of Geospatial Corporation. Well, they trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol GSPH. Troy, thank you very much for stopping by here at the show today. I wish you nothing but the best. We're going to check back with you in a couple of months.
Would love to have a follow-up, and again, thanks for your time.
The following program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire LLC, which is responsible for the following content. The opinions and information provided on today's show are those of the guests and of those of the respective companies they represent, and does not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of this station. Uptick Network encourages all listeners of the show to do their own due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that'll work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of today's show may have paid to appear on the show and are not directly affiliated with